Hey, this is Ryan Phillips here, and this is going to be Game 5 of the match between Chris Reynolds and Jon Trivett. Um, I'm really happy to be able to do these videos, of course, and I must say I really like the format. I like how they did the 4 games now, and then they took the break off for National Open. I believe there's 4 more games left, although I can't recall. I'll have to ask Chris or John about that. How many? I think it's an 8-game match. But yeah, I love the format. I think this is awesome. They played 4 games, took a break off for National Open, which of course makes perfect sense, and then they're back at it again. I think there's been other tournaments like major tournaments where they do that. Where they like play in one location, then they move to like a different location. They take a break, and I think this is awesome. They're kind of following that type of format. It's really cool. And the games have been really high quality. Definitely been impressed. I think 3 of the 4 games have been in Grunfeld, and we've had another D4 game. So in this, I like also the second part of the match. They're mixing up the opening, so John played E4 here, and so yeah, I think this match has I don't know, has kind of everything you could hope for. This is also the second video I'm making today. I made a video earlier with my game against Michael Graves, and I like to say that I'm just making a bunch of chess videos because it's like 117 degrees outside. But the truth of the matter is I just really enjoy making chess videos, and I don't really have anything too much better to do. Not that this isn't a really awesome thing to be doing, but I'd also like to go outside every once in a while when it's not 117 degrees and kind of get some fresh air. But anyway, happy of course to making the videos, and here we go. We got E4, C6. So already we're in much different terrain. We're in Caro-Kann position, and this is the first video I believe that I'm analyzing from the white side, as I don't have too much familiarity with playing the Caro-Kann. I think a couple years ago I heard like a player rated a little bit over 2,000 call it the Caro-Can't win, which I think is a very unfair and subjective analysis. I think objectively the Caro-Kann is one of the best openings in chess. It's interesting to me we have so many French players at the club but very few Caro-Kann players, and it's interesting to me that nobody wants to kind of play a similar setup with the light square bishop finding a nice home. I guess the difference, I guess an advantage of the French versus the Caro-Kann is it seems like the queenside counterplay comes a lot quicker. But in the Caro-Kann, the queenside counterplay can come quick as well. So I'm surprised. I'm just waiting. Maybe we'll have like some youngster, like some honest youngster that's like 8 or 9 one day come in the club and be like, "Why is everyone playing the French? Your light square bishop's terrible. Play the Caro-Kann. Your light square bishop will be great." Just kind of waiting for that to happen. And I think Chris plays the Caro-Kann sometimes, but I really. I think of Chris more as playing the center counter gambit, but I think in recent memory he seems to be changing from that. So looks like the Caro-Kann is popular now. And the one thing that's really cool about having a chess club, sorry, I know sometimes I get long-winded, but I definitely will get to the game. But one of the cool parts about having a chess club is like we kind of all know what openings that we play now, and that wasn't the case, before we had the chess in between the UMC club and the nice club we have now at the Art House. And then John's club over at Carl's Jr. In between that period, there was kind of it wasn't like this where everyone knew what everyone was going to play. I don't think, at least I didn't. So maybe other people are more familiar with the other players at the club. But now we all basically know what each other's going to play, and we all study the openings, and I think we've all gone so much better because of it. I don't think that. I guess you could be a little worried that you just learn how to play openings, you're not learning how to get better at chess. But I think we've all learned how to get better at chess by like analyzing the opening so deeply, and I think it's obvious when you look at our results like the National Open stuff that the club's a little underrated. It seems like everybody is kind of outperforming their rating in this tournament, most recent one. If there was a couple people then that were overperforming, a couple underperforming, then maybe I wouldn't think about it too much. But it seemed like a very high majority of the players were overperforming their rating. So I think our club is a little bit stronger than our ratings might indicate. So anyway, so we got D4, D5, knight C3. So standard Caro-Kann. Basically, black is taking their position in the center, and the light square bishop is still able to get activated. And here it seems like it's almost universal to play D takes E4. Open database shows G6, which Glenn's been playing a lot recently, or A6. I guess A6 just one time, so it doesn't count for much. It's playable. But it's curious, like you don't see, I'm surprised you don't see like knight F6 more or something. I'm just trying to figure out myself, as someone who doesn't face or play the Caro-Kann that often, Why in this position you always take on e4, whereas in like the e6 against with the pawn on c7, still the pawn on e6 in the common friends position, you still see d takes e4, but it's not anywhere near the most common move. So I don't know why something. I guess I kind of can figure it out. Sorry, I think my computer's freezing right here. I think I can figure out is that after this position, the light square bishop is trapped in, so it's similar to the French. But the problem is the c7 pawn should move to c5 in one move, not two. And then here it also looks like you have some threats of e6, which you wouldn't have against the French, because the pawn would already be on e6. So I think that the counterplay is too slow on the queen side, is why you don't see a move like knight f6 too frequently. But I think maybe, I don't know, maybe someone will play knight f6. I don't think it's a terrible move by any stretch. But d takes e4 is much more common. Knight takes e4, knight d7, and here we have a pretty cool position. I always like to play the opening trap and blitz of queen e2, which actually works more than you think against unsuspecting opponents. If they play, the point is if they play knight g to f6, knight d6 is checkmate, and so I play this move quite a bit in blitz. But queen e2 is not positionally a good move because it blocks in your light square bishop. You could fianchetto it via g3 and bishop g2, which is fine. But also you're like relieving a defender of the d6, d4 pawn. So I think queen e2 isn't really anything that I could advocate for too strongly in the long game. But it is a fun like little blitz line, and you'll be surprised how many opponents will fall into it. It's interesting because when there's a piece in the way of and you have a potential pin, it's very easy to miss. Like this knight d6 move is. I think if this is the first time seeing this position, I think it was very easy to miss knight d6. Especially because it seems like knight g to f6 is kind of an automatic move to play in the Caro-Kann. So anyway, so Chris played, John's playing the white piece. John played bishop d3, which is a much better move. And then Chris played knight g f6. So we're basically in a standard Caro-Kann position here. So I think we're definitely in opening theory here. And then John played knight g5. And then I want to say this is a position that that Deep Blue had against Kasparov in the infamous Game 6 match. I don't remember if this was the exact position or not. I want to say this was it though. And I think Kasparov played h6, but I'm worried I'm mixing up. The bishop might have been on c4. I'm not sure, but basically the idea is that you play knight e6 here, and if takes, then bishop g6 is mate. So this isn't the position though. It was similar to this. Maybe it was pawn e6 that was. No, that's not right either. Yeah, I can't remember, but it's something similar to this. I'll have to look it up. Maybe the bishop was on c4. And this knight wasn't on f6 yet. Yeah, I'm not remembering right now what happened in that game. I'll have to look that up after this, but it was similar to this. So anyway, yeah, so the idea is basically of h6, this knight e6 move is potentially pretty strong. So Chris played queen b6. Which is a very good move here. I think that might be theory. That's not theory. Because e6 is theory. I like queen b6 though. I think this is a logical move. I'm just hitting the d4 pawn, and then giving the king a flight square to d8 if necessary at some point. So basically a move like h6. So we'll just waste a move for white just to illustrate. So basically a move like h6. I think if you go knight e6 here, I think just takes fine, because if bishop g6, then king d8, and I think the king should be fine. The king can run over to the queen side like via c7 if necessary, and that should be fine for black. So queen b6 is interesting, and now I think John would almost definitely be out of book at this point. So now we're just kind of playing chess, and we'll see what happens. So John played knight 1 to f3. Chris played g6, which is an interesting idea. The idea is just to play bishop g7 in the castle, I believe. I don't see bishop h6 as being any kind of threat here. So John played c3. And again, I've just been extremely impressed with the quality of this match. Seems like all the games have been very logical. Um, Neither side's making any significant mistakes. So yeah, it's just been a really high quality match, I believe. Excuse me. So bishop g7, queen e2, castle castle, h6. And then here the computer's showing an interesting move with knight e6, which to me looks very hard to find. So I guess after take, not sure why king h8 is not getting anything on the computer. I don't know if it's the computer. What's wrong with king h8? Knight h4. And then what if we play knight e5? Okay, so yeah, knight h4 looks like, okay, so that's the dagger in the heart. So this would have been a hard move to find, I believe. Knight e6 looks tough. I guess maybe in spite of this knight e6 move though, it looks like maybe e6 or knight d5 first would have been a little bit better. But that's just me following Ripka. That's not like an independent thought or anything. So yeah, h6. I think knight e6 looks like a very hard move to find. But I think this could be instructive. So basically, h6 is weakening the king side. So after h6, the g6 pawn is potentially weak when the f pawn takes. So stuff like that. That's kind of, I think, what good players, like grandmaster and stuff. That's kind of weakening moves they're looking for. And no reason players our level can't think about stuff like this. I think we just have a fear. We probably don't trust our calculating abilities enough, I bet you, to play something like knight e6. But after h6, this g6 pawn is weakened. So h6, knight e4, queen c7. So the idea behind queen c7, I'm not 100% sure. I think I guess he's trying to go for e5, Chris. Or maybe even push the queenside pawns like b5 at some point in the future. I don't think that would be an immediate plan, but I guess the immediate idea is to play e5. So queen c2. And then I think Chris plays logically here. I think he's worried about if he plays e5 immediately. Knight takes. He can't play bishop takes because the h6 pawn hangs. So, and then he's probably worried he doesn't have enough protection of the e5 pawn. So I understand rook e8. The computer's actually showing that you can play knight takes e4 here. And I believe this will let him get in e5 the very next move. So that's something that Chris, I think that's something that Chris can learn from, definitely. So basically, instead of thinking he need to put another protector on e5 square, just get a piece out of the way, and this bishop on g7 is naturally protecting e5. And also, you don't have to worry about his knight on e4 taking your knight. So knight takes e4 would have been a pretty logical move, I think, and something that I think Chris will learn, and I think he'll be able to find that move next time if he has a similar position. And I think rook e8. So rook e8 is logical because it helps his e5 plan, but I think the f7 square might get a little weak after rook e8. And yeah, so after rook e8, I think if f7 becomes weaker, that I don't know. I think the computer suggestion knight takes e4 would have been simpler for Chris. So rook e8, rook e1, and then here actually Chris does find knight takes e4, so very impressive. Bishop takes e4, and king h7. So this move I don't particularly understand. I guess he's worried about sacrificing ideas on g6, so I think Chris might be worried about bishop takes g6 and then queen takes g6. But I don't believe that will be anything to worry about. So, for example, say Chris wastes a move. Not that he would play this, but so take. It looks like knight f6 computer recommends, or probably even king h8. No, king h8 probably isn't the best because then just bishop takes h6. So computer shows knight f6. I don't know. This doesn't look as easy as the computer's showing it, but computers obviously they're the best in these type of positions. So basically, the idea would just be to push the e pawn so the queen's guarding the bishop on g7. But I understand why Chris would be worried about a line such as this. So king h7 makes some sense because of that. Knight h4, Yeah, he's just gonna go after this g6 pawn, which he thinks is a weakness. I don't know if it's. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I think this pawn is particularly weak yet. But again, we could see why h6 was a risky move, because if the pawn's on h7, any ideas of hitting this g6 pawn would be very silly, because they have two protectors, two other pawns protecting it. Now we have one pawn and the king protecting it. It's a lot more. It's a lot more of a risk. It's a lot more precarious, this pawn here on g6. So knight f8, basically protecting the g6 pawn again. And now here you have to think that that white has the initiative and probably has a little bit better position at this point. So bishop e3. That was like a hard move to find. I'm impressed that Jon was able to find that move. I'm not really sure. I mean, okay, it connects the rooks, so on that grounds you consider it. There's really no other. You can't play the bishop to f4, g5. You could try bishop d2, but that doesn't seem to make much sense. So I guess that's the reason for bishop e3, just to develop a piece and connect the rooks. But I think it's not such a. I don't think it's such an easy move to find. So I think Jon did a good job finding that move. So then we have Chris lashing out with f5, and I like this move. It might not be the best move practically, or it might not be the best move objectively, but practically I think it's an excellent move. Gives white black some space on the king side, attacks a piece, and then kind of makes the g6 pawn harder to get to in the meantime. So the idea is he basically has to make sure that that g6 pawn can never get attacked, can never be taken, because if that happens, then the black position will fall apart. But basically saying I don't want the bishop and the queen to hit that pawn anymore, so f5 does a nice job of stopping that. So bishop d3, e5. And here we kind of have almost like a King's Indian type position. I think this e4 threat, it looks playable. And then maybe like e4 and like bishop e6 or something like that. Seems like a decent plan. So I'm not really sure. There's a few things probably that black could do. Maybe even bring the knight to f6 via d7 is a possible plan in the future. So d takes e5. Bishop takes, and then bishop d4. So I think bishop d4 looks like it's probably a mistake. I don't care for that move too much. So I guess, yeah, I don't like bishop d4 just because the e5 square is guarded twice by the black army. So bishop d4, bishop takes h2. You can bring the bishop right back to e7, I believe, or e5. I'm sorry, back to e5. So bishop takes h2, king h1. And then I wonder if there's. I'm not sure why bishop. I guess maybe queen e2 as a threat. So yeah, that might be something you have to worry about. You might have to worry about queen e2 if you play the bishop back to e5. So bishop d7, I guess, is an excellent move by Chris. And I think if you try to pin this, if you try to trap the bishop with g3, maybe just take and then queen takes on g3, and then you're hanging the knight. And if the queen tries to swing over to h2 to save it, then the bishop on d3 hangs. So I think this queen on g3 is a very strong piece. If you try to bring the knight back to g2, for example, then I think you just have a very weak knight, and I think black has compensation for that. So bishop d7, knight takes f5. So the mad sacker, playing like the mad sacker, and then bishop takes f5. Bishop takes f5, and then bishop e5. So I guess I wonder if on g takes f5 if white has a perpetual. So take. Okay, you can block with the knight with knight g6. So I don't think you have a perpetual. I know this bishop on d4 is a monster piece though. So take. Queen takes f5. I don't know, it's pretty hard to say. I think if king goes to g8, then probably queen g4 check looks good. So, I don't know, let's look at this. So I guess here just trapping the bishop is very good. Alright, so let's look at knight g6. So I think knight g6 looks pretty much forced. Alright, so we got G3. Rook F8. Oh, what's wrong with, what about Queen H3 here? Oh, so we have, was deflection, C5. This looks very complicated. I can't understand why Chris didn't want to go for this line. Bishop E3. Yeah, this just looks incredibly complicated. King takes H2, knight E5. And I guess now we're threatening knight F3 check, forking the king and the rook. And this looks like a pretty hard threat to meet since the rook on F8 is also guarding F3. So you have rook ED1. It's like king H1. Looks forced. Yeah, so this just looks incredibly, looks like a very tough combination to see. So, looks pretty complicated for both sides. I can see why they were both worried about this move. So Chris played bishop e5 here and then offered to draw, which Jon accepted, which I think was a fair decision to make, which was a good decision. So Jon has a 3-2 match lead going down the stretch right now, and I'm excited for 3 more what I anticipate will be very exciting games. Yeah, in this position I can't really see. It's hard to see where either side can get an advantage. The main idea is that with Queen E2 now, the rooks are connected. The rook on A8 is protecting the rook on E8. So if the queen goes to E2, now you can just take. And then if you try to get like 2 pieces, 2 rooks for the queen, that doesn't work because the bishop just swings back to G7, guarding the knight. Or computer also shows bishop takes F2. Or of course G takes F5 also looks reasonable. So yeah, so basically black got a queen and a piece for 2 rooks, which is more than enough compensation. So it looks like a draw was a fair result in this position, and I thought it was an excellent game. Both sides played very well. Has been part of the course in this match so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen. I think we'll have 3 great games in store for us to finish up the match, and I don't know, maybe this will be like an annual thing, kind of like Paco and Jose do, where Chris and Jon will play each other every year. I think it'd be awesome if we saw more matches take place at the club. I don't think that could do anything but help everyone's chess. And they say matches are really how you when you get into the psychology of chess. There's already a lot of psychology in chess, but when you get into the match, they say that's where it's at, heightened even more. So I definitely like to play a match one of these days myself. I think that'd be a fun experience. Anyway, though, this is Ryan Phillips signing off, and hope everyone enjoyed the video, and hope everyone's enjoying the match because it's been a real classic right now. Sorry, I'm signing off with my left hand, so probably should sign off with my right hand, and it'll be ugly still, but not quite as ugly as this scribble nonsense. Alright, anyway, thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to Game 6 of the match with Chris Reynolds and Jon Trivett. Alright, thank you so much.